Hi, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Maybe put a message in the chat if you can hear me. Sorry, I was in a meeting that ran long, so this is a late start to this meeting. I'm going to give it a couple minutes to see if anybody else jumps on. If not, I'll just talk and then send the link out. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know there's only two of you guys on here. That is my fault. Apologize for that. I had a coach in my office and didn't realize how late I ran. But I have, I'm going to go through just a bit of the expectations for being on the competition team and what that looks like. And kind of what you're committing to, so you know what you're getting into if you guys decide to move forward. And then I will also send you guys everyone a copy of the team handbook this week for you guys to take a look through and review. There's a few parts that you should also review with your athlete. Okay, so first off, our competition team is it's a big change from like the recreational gymnastics program. So the competition team is a obviously a increase in the number of hours and training hours. It's a change in kind of the I would say philosophy. The biggest thing is a change in the philosophy of what we're training and how and the why. And so if you think of a recreational gymnastics class, the focus primarily is on skill, the building of skills. And so a lot of that would be, hey, let's do a cartwheel, let's do a handstand, let's do a round off, let's do a round off back handspring, let's do, all of these skills. Um, when you move to team, we actually back up and slow down. And the reasoning behind that is that it's no longer about just getting skills; it's about doing skills perfectly. And so, um, when you look at like another sport like soccer, when a kid kicks in a goal, everybody cheers and says, "Yay, they scored a goal." In gymnastics, they would look at that and they would say, "Hey, okay, they kicked a goal, but their knees were bent, their toes weren't pointed, they were arched, they were leaning backwards and not forwards, and all of the different details and minutia." And so Um, it is a very big change for the kids as far as like a mentality. It's whereas before everything was like move forward, move forward, move forward. Here it's going to be a lot more. There's going to be focus on strength, conditioning, shaping, flexibility. The different things are really the focus. It really slows down. We go backwards. We go very slow. But the reasoning behind that is that for an athlete to be able to do skills well, they need to be able to have the foundations strong. And so, you can't do, if you can't do a good cartwheel, when I would say like a near perfect cartwheel, you can't do a good round off. If you don't have a good round off, your round off back handspring will be just okay. And then if your round off back handspring is just okay, then you can't do a really good round up back handspring back tuck. You can't progress it beyond a back handspring back layout. And so essentially they stunt themselves in the end from what they did poorly in the beginning. And so there's a lot of emphasis on that. We slow things down and really break down and teach the true quality basics and fundamentals so that we can build a strong house later, right? So good foundation leads to a strong house. So that's the biggest change there. Obviously, they're training more hours. They will be working with different coaches. We do emphasize still trying to keep it fun and making sure the kids are having a good time. But there are times when it is tedious. There are times when it is hard. They may cry from the conditioning because it's hard. But the cool thing is, I can't tell you how many of my little girls will come to me and tell me that they did the fitness challenge at their school and they beat every boy in their class and the girls were standing around cheering for them. And I love that for these little girls. I think it's great for them to see and know how strong and powerful they can be. And it's a really cool experience. And it's a great foundation, even if they don't end up doing gymnastics. Like in the end, I have athletes that have gone on for scholarships in rowing, diving, pole vaulting, it just so many different sports. And so acrobatics and tumbling. And so stunt. And so there's a tons of, it's a great foundation for this, even if they decide to move on to other stuff too. So, okay. So let me just talk a little bit about kind of costs and expectations, because I think that's really the big one. Obviously, I already sent you guys the tuition and what those expectations would be. The next thing is to be aware of is the competition attire. And so the competition attire is pretty much made up of, at this level, is just going to be a short sleeve leotard. It's a victory leotard, a special one. Those are typically approximately like $75. And then a warm up package, which is the things they wear over their leotards. So they'll have like a jacket that says victory and their name embroidered on it. They'll have like like a pair of leggings that has like their name or the gym's name on the side and stuff in like sequins, or not sequins, but the little gems and stuff. And so that package is approximately $220. So in total, you're talking about $300 for their outfit that they would use. And that outfit they can use for multiple years. So they'll continue to use the short sleeve leotard, for really as long as they want, or as long as they can fit in it. We do have a long sleeve leotard that becomes available to them later on. It is more, significantly more expensive, but it is not something they're ever required to get. And the same with the warm-ups. They can wear those warm-ups for multiple years. We will change leotards occasionally. We're not looking at a leotard change anytime soon. Okay, then our next thing is our competition fees. And so competitions basically are made up of two kind of tranches, our competition fees. So the monthly tuition that you pay covers your tuition and training in the gym. So that's your time in the gym and your coach's time when they're in the gym. When we travel for competitions, those are separate fees, and those will be sorry. Those are separate fees, and those will cover. The first part is the entry fee, and so the entry fee goes to whoever is hosting the competition. They will have to pay to rent the venue. They'll have to pay for equipment rental. They'll have to they pay for medals for the judges, for food for the judges, hotels for the judges. All kinds of things, security, electric, all the different stuff. And so those entry fees go to those host gyms. The other portion of the entry fees, or the I should say the meet fees that you pay, cover the gym's expenses for going there to the meet with your child. And so that would be um, that would be for the judges to drive to wherever the location is, or to fly to wherever the location is. At this level, it will just be driving, so it'll just be mileage. Covers their session fees for the coaches to work at the meet, their food, if they need to get food, hotel if they need to have a hotel room, again, the different various travel expenses and things like that. And so those fees are then calculated based on the number of athletes on the team. So let's say for a specific meet, it's $1,000, and there's 10 athletes on the team. Then that portion would be $100. Okay. And so the meet fees are broken up into multiple payments. Typically for the meet fees, you're looking at about $800 or so for the qualifier season. And so those are basically like invitational meets that we travel to around the local area. If your athlete gets a qualifying score at one of these invitational competitions, then they would qualify for state championships. And that state championship would be a separate meet fee that's calculated after after the qualifiers and that thing. So typically you're looking at about $300 for the state meets. Those meets are a little bit more expensive as for that individual meet versus like the invitationals where we can have one, or the coaches with multiple kids. The state meets tend to be broken up into smaller sessions with like 2 kids or 1 kid sometimes. So those meet fees are broken up into monthly payments. They'll be spread out over 4 months. They typically start somewhere in August. And so, if you figure, $800, then you're talking about 4 payments of about $200 on top of your tuition. And that would be the meet fees. Those fees, so the portion that covers the gym's fees are not refundable at all. Because we calculate how much it is based on the number of kids on the team, and divide by 10, and then say, okay, it's $100. I can't then go back to parents later if something happens and say, oh, so and so's not going, you need to pay an extra $15. So that fee is not refundable. The meet entry fees are refundable up to a certain date. And so that date will vary based on the specific meet that you're talking about. The state meet, it's never refundable. Pretty much as soon as they after the last qualifying weekend, once I submit those, if you haven't told me before the last qualifying weekend that for some reason you're not going to be able to make state, once I make that payment, I can't get it back. The invitationals, typically it's the dates like 2 months before. We have a meet cancellation form that you can submit. So if your athlete is injured or sick, or I shouldn't say sick, but if your athlete is injured, or you guys are moving, or they just decide they don't want to continue the sport, whatever, you can fill out that form. And so that portion of the meet fee can be refunded to you as long as it's submitted before the meet refund deadline, which that'll be on the form that you would fill out. Let's see. It's competitions. I will, as we get a little bit closer to season, I will go through and talk to you guys a little bit more about what to expect as far as at the competitions themselves. The bronze competitions are typically within an hour to an hour and a half away, are typically the meets that we look for. They are at convention centers sometimes, large places. So, you guys are expected to make sure that you get there with enough time. But the way that a meet works is we will give you the weekends that we are intending to compete. So, for example, all our competition season, we'll have a mock meet in December, which happens in the gym. And then, sort of late January, we'll have a competition in February. We'll typically have two. March, we'll usually have one. Those are usually kind of like that's sort of our meet lineup in general. And we'll tell you to block off the weekend. And so, like, let's say we're saying March 6th through 8th is like one of our competition weekends. It's the Victory Classic at the LA Convention Center. You will not be expected to be there the whole weekend. However, you will be expected, you will have a session that you are given. Like usually a few weeks before, we'll know your day and time. So we'll be able to say to you, hey, your session is Saturday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And so that's basically it. You just need to make sure you're there from 3 to 7 p.m. on that weekend, and get there. But it is typically about, I'd say 4 hours from like when you get there to the athlete doing their warm up to the athlete competing to awards for you to get out of there. So typically about 4 hours, I would say. And so, again, the competition season runs a December mock meet. January through March are the invitationals, and then the state championships is in April. And so, or maybe might even be the end of March this year. I think they might have actually moved it up like a week. It's usually the first weekend in April, but I think it might be towards the end of March this upcoming season. We get those dates to you typically sometime in July. So you have a whole lot of notice on what those weekends are. And it is, it is important for the kids to be able to go to these meets. It's a really, it's an opportunity for them to show off all the things that they work so hard on. So, okay. Next is the just tuition. Just another difference between tuition with team versus recreational is, when we assign kids to the team and we put them into a group, it's not like rec classes where I can move kids in and out, right? So like we've selected these athletes and said, hey, you guys have the potential to to compete and represent Victory. So when we assign those groups and those class numbers and those assignments, I'm not grabbing other random kids during the middle of the year to add to that group. So, it's very important for us that the kids that when you are joining, that you are committed to this, that you are going to do, that you are ready to do it and bought in. You understand that the athlete is expected to attend their practices. It's really important for them to be there at all those practices. They won't necessarily touch every single event every day. So if they're missing practices consistently, they may not be touching vault or they may not be touching beam that week. And that's not, that's one thing about the sport that's very difficult compared to like a soccer or a basketball. Soccer, basketball, you train really one event. You dribble, you kick, right? You work within that event. But gymnastics, you have 4 very different events. Like bars, while there's some overlap with beam, it's very different. And so same with vault, with floor, each one of those events are very different. And so it's important that they are getting to learn the nuance and the differences and those things of each one of those events. And so attendance is incredibly important, for them to be able to see consistent improvement. So with that also, because like I can't put kids in and out, we're committing to you guys. We need you guys to commit to us, which means, vacations. We don't do holds for vacations. There's no makeups. If you are going to be gone for more than 8 weeks on vacation, like if you're planning to leave for the summer, you have 2 options. One is you can drop from the team. at which point we will not hold your spot. And we would, when you come back, we would evaluate the athlete to determine if they would still belong, if maybe they would be able to come back, but they'd be in a different group, or maybe I don't have room for them in that group. But there's no, and then the other option would be over 8 weeks, is you can pay half tuition to hold your spot in that team. But again, even when they come back, they are going to have to work really hard to get caught up, right? So that is our that is our expectation. A lot of folks will, if they are traveling for an extended period of time, find a gym in a different city and do drop-ins over at those gyms. And most gyms will accommodate something like that because I know we've had somebody here the last couple of weeks from Georgia, and so it's just when they're on break, they're traveling. They that in order to kind of keep up, with their training. So. And so the same policy for injuries, except for if you have if they're just out being sick, a small injury, less than 4 weeks, then they would do nothing. We would change nothing. We would just try to get them into condition to do as much as they can. If it's a more serious injury where they're going to be out more than 4 weeks, we have an injury form. You would come in and fill that out. You would also fill out the meet cancellation form if the injury is going to affect any meets. And then with that, over 4 weeks, it would be half tuition. An injury over 12 weeks would be, would basically be no tuition at all during that time. Okay. So the way we look at the tuition as well is that it is, rec. If you know, coming from rec, you understand that if there's 5 weeks in the month, we charge you more for the fifth week. In our team program, there is no extra fees for extra weeks. We don't do any of that. However, we know that we will be canceling some workouts from time to time. And that may be because of a competition where, if you're scheduled to train on a Saturday and the coach is at a meet, then we won't have a practice that Saturday. Maybe a holiday that the gym is closed. Those types of things where essentially you're getting 4 weeks free already with because we're only charging you that flat 4-week rate. And there's 52 weeks in the year. However, occasionally, especially during competition season, if we feel that the athletes, because of the meet schedule and how it's come out, that we may need to add a practice or something, we will offer like a makeup practice or something occasionally. But usually that's only during season and only if we feel like the girls need it. Sometimes the girls just need rest. So, anyways, so that is our tuition for team. Dealing with injuries and holds. Last two other things that I want to deal with is first thing is the most important thing is environment and behavior. We put a big emphasis on making sure this is a positive gymnastics experience. I look back on my own athletic career, and I don't remember all the practices and the different things. I remember moments. I remember things. I remember experiences with my friends, interactions. And so we do try to put a lot of emphasis for these athletes on making sure that it is a positive environment. That means the coaches, that means the athletes themselves, that means the parents. We want to make sure that we keep a positive environment, a positive atmosphere, which means, we expect if you guys have a question, if you have a problem, if you have a concern, don't take it to other parents in the common area. They're not going to have answers. You come to us, come talk to us. We're the only ones who can solve your problems. We don't accept negativity. We don't accept, bullying, any kind of, making fun of each other, gossiping, different things like that. I have had to kick kids off the team because of the way that their parents behaved. I kicked 2 kids off actually this past year. So it's not fun. I don't enjoy it. We never want to do it. but we need to make sure that it is a positive environment here, which means the kids, the parents, the coaches, everything. So if the coaches are doing anything, I want to know about it, right? If there's a problem, I want to make sure we can fix it, address it, look at it. Our coaches are really, I feel like, do a really good job of balancing, trying to get the kids to do things that are maybe not natural and are very difficult and hard, and sometimes painful, but also making it fun, right? And so, um, you know, 7-year-old kids don't understand why they have to do those extra sit-ups and why it's hurting and that kind of thing. And so the coaches have to try to make the conditioning fun, make those things fun. So it can be difficult, but they do. I think they do a really good job about it. And then the same with kids, right? All these kids are dealing with different things. We understand that. We have kids that parents are going through divorces, kids that their best friend doesn't want to be friends with them anymore. They're having a hard time at school. We have kids that are getting older that are going through changes in their bodies, boyfriends breaking up with them, all kinds of stuff. And so, it's an honor for us to get to be a part of that process and help them grow and do that. But they don't always handle it perfectly, and we understand that. But we expect your support in helping them to learn from that. Kids are clay. We are not gonna we're not going to hide from a kid having a problem. We're not going to ignore it. We're going to hope we're going to do what we can to try to help them find better ways of dealing with those issues and with those problems, and try to work through it. But at a certain point too, there's an expectation of like, hey, this has to be a positive environment for everybody. And if we have a kid that's creating an atmosphere that takes away from that, then we're gonna tell them that they can't be a part of the team anymore. Okay. So we will. There's more specifics in the handbook that you will get that will talk about behavior and things, and that is a part that the athlete will need to sign and agree to. Finally, the last thing is our expectations, and I talked a little bit about it as far as the outside extracurricular activities. We have several extracurricular activities throughout the course of the year. We have a team sleepover, team barbecues. We have a beach day. Different things. We have a haunted Halloween house party. Participation is really important for these things. These are the types of things that the kids will remember 50 years from now. And I want them to look back and be like, that was so fun. And when they graduate high school, and I want them to say, Mom, Dad, thank you for putting me in gymnastics. And so, participating in these things, I know they're already here a bunch. It's important, and it takes a little bit from you guys, not a lot, but make sure they're here, make sure they're participating, connecting with their teammates, connecting with you guys can connect with the other parents. It's fun. It's a good, important part of it. And then the last thing is that Victory hosts one invitational every year. That invitational is the Victory Classic. It will be March 6th through 8th. That is 2025. It is mandatory for every family to work one session, one shift at that meet. The shifts are 5.5 hours long. It is at the Los Angeles Convention Center. So some parents will go there. Will go there on the day of their kids' meet, and they will work at their session and then watch their kids. Some parents will go while their kid is competing. I will tell you that it is difficult to watch your kid while you're working, but some parents will find a way to kind of sneak away when they can or do whatever. Other parents will come on different days. You can buy out. That is a $300 buyout. But I will tell you that it is a really great experience. It's a way for you guys to get a chance to look behind the curtain and understand a little bit more about how everything works. It's also a great time for the kids. They have a blast with it, hosting our meet. We put a lot into it, really try to make it a special occasion for everybody. And then every few years, Victory has I am on the state board, and we will host the USA Gymnastics California State Championships. And so we hosted it not this past year, but 2 years ago. We may host it this year. I do not know yet. But they would, if we do end up hosting that, then you would also need to work one session at that meet. But otherwise, Uh, that's pretty much it. Um, off of kind of what I needed to cover for right now. And like I said, I'll give you some more details on what to expect as far as the actual meets and what happens at them, and all how all that works as we get a little bit closer to season. But at this time, I'll open it up to any questions. If you have any questions, there's a little chat at the bottom. You can type your question, and I'll respond. Okay. Yeah. So Amanda asked, can I elaborate a bit on competitions based on age versus level? Will my 6-year-old bronze girl only compete against other 6-year-olds? So, yes. So, basically, every competition is broken up into two. There's two categories. There's level, which would be bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, etc. And each one of those levels has different levels of skills that they would compete, um, and um, and then within those levels, so within the bronze level of skill, the skill tree for bronze, they will break up based on age, the awards. And so yes, a 6-year-old, at some of the smaller meets, the 6-year-old may be competing against a 7-year-old. 6 and 7-year-olds, then they may have like an 8-year-old category, then you may have a 9 and 10-year-old category, and an 11 and 12-year-old category that they're broken up into, right? And that's just based on like how many kids there are, and how they want to break it up. At some of the larger meets, they may, like even state championships, it's broken down to not even just by year, it's broken down by literally birth date and month. So there may be, for 8-year-olds, there may be 3 8-year-old categories because there's so many 8-year-olds in the state. And so but yes, they will generally only be competing against children their age, at the meets, that at any meet they go to. Any other questions? Um, yes. So let's see. I can give you. So the question is, do we know the coaches? And so I can tell you this: all the coaches are team coaches. Um, Let me see if I have a any kind of breakdown on who's coaching what. So I can tell you that um, they I have a couple of coaches working with this groups. So one is Coach Elena, one is Coach Jared. Um, yeah, for those beginner groups. So both coaches were very high level gymnasts themselves. Um, so uh, level tens, which is like the very highest level. Essentially, it's even above college, and very good demeanor with the kids. Have a good balance of being able to push and expect expectations, but also are you kind and friendly and that type of thing. So I think good good folks, and so we're very happy with the coaching staff that we have. I will say, we actually have two new coaches that are coming in that are coaching the higher levels, that we're very thankful to have, that are have coached all the way up to the elite level, including taking kids to like U.S. championships and things like that. So um, we are. Victory has a pretty good reputation in the community, but we're always trying to get better. And so, this is it's a good, it's allowing us to even kind of cycle down even some of our more talented coaches into even some of the lower levels. So, we're very happy about that. Any other questions? Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any more, but obviously there's not that many people on. Again, that is my fault. I apologize for being late to be on here. I will set up a follow-up meeting for people to reach out that we can do just a Q&A meeting to follow up. But I will send this link out to everybody. And then I will, people can watch this, and then we can do a follow-up meeting with just Q&A with additional stuff if other people have more questions. So um, thank you for your time. Congratulations on your athlete being invited to our team. I will tell you that we have 800 students here. And of those, 800, we've invited only about, what was their number, like 14 or 15 girls or something to our competitive team this year. So the girls did, your girls did great. I hope that they should be very proud of themselves. And I hope you're proud of them. They obviously had to work hard to get here, and we're going to continue to keep, to keep trying to help them, be the best gymnasts they can be, and we'll go from there. So, you guys actually should all have my email at this point. This is joel@victory-gymnastics.com. So you can always shoot me an email if you have any further questions as well. And otherwise, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.